This Icon podcast is hosted and sponsored by Sphere Rocket Virtual Assistants, a leading provider for your virtual assistants and outsourcing needs. Owned by one of the top-ranking EXP agents, Justin Nelson. Sphere Rocket VA provides a one-stop virtual staffing solution for business owners, and we specialize in helping business owners grow their business by leveraging through virtual assistants. Trusted by the top names in the real estate industry like Kyle Whistle, Andrew Franklin, John Kitchens, and many more. Get ready to up your success and we'll help you achieve your business goals. Book your free consultation at sphererocketva.com and find out how we can make your life easier.
Hey listeners, welcome back to another episode of the Icon Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Gianna, and today we have Michael and Jake from the Axon Group, yeah?
Yeah, it's great to be here. I appreciate you having us.
Of course, guys. Welcome. Thanks for making the time. Yeah, it's going to be super exciting. So let's start. Whoever wants to go first, give us the lowdown. Before you guys became a team, right? How did you become real estate agents? How did this career path come to you? How did you end up in the market you're in right now? What's the story? A loaded question, I know.
Yeah, so I guess I'll kick it off. We're both investors. And so, my background, I have my master's in business and originally was working in stock market finance. And so that was a huge interest of mine ever since I was a kid. And I love numbers. I was a math team nerd. And so, decided that was a path that I wanted to go down. And the more that I studied, alternative investment, vehicles, the more that I realized that there were just so many hidden advantages to real estate versus the stock market. You're not competing with the same kind of competition. You're not dealing with a ton of automation that you've got nowadays in the stock market. So I started to look into real estate as an investment tool. And after a little while, realized that it was going to be beneficial to get my license so that I could be my own agent for my own deals. And back in 2019, got my license, and then we all know what happened in 2020. And so the mix of having, a good background in investing and connections in the investing world with, the way that the market took off, I was able to, take off very quickly as an agent and, just kind of went from 0 to 100, very fast.
Absolutely. And Jake, your turn. Give us the scoop.
Yeah, for me, I hated numbers. I hated finance, hated accounting. So
you guys are just perfect together.
Yep. So for me, it was more of I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I owned a logistics brokerage before becoming an agent, but had been an investor for years as well. My interest stemmed more from starting something of my own, having my own, passive income stream eventually. So my initial intentions had very little to do with actually selling real estate, but more expanding, my reach for my personal investments. But as a lot of investors will tell you, to get their license, things evolve and things change. And then eventually, started off with EXP because of the low fees and the ability to self-brand and kind of just do my own investment thing, but then evolved into primarily doing sales, in fact. So I flipped the script on myself a little bit.
Well, awesome, guys. Great background here. Now, obviously, this isn't a question for most of my icons, but we're going to ask about how you guys came together, and then we'll go into how y'all found EXP. But, now you're a team. So how did this happen?
Yeah,
sure. So I'll go again.
Go ahead.
Mike and I we usually were not team members or had partnered up at EXP. We were just both agents we're in the Chicago market, doing our own thing. And we eventually kind of tripped into the same niche or started competing with each other, right? We were calling the same clients, seeing each other at showings without knowing who each other were. In fact, I recall leaving one and kind of looking over my shoulder and then jumping on a phone call with him and saying, I think I just saw you at a showing, not knowing who he was. So this started happening consistently, and we're like, we should just join forces here and try to monopolize things a little bit more. So that's how it came to be. And since then we've grown an investor kind of focused team in Chicago, and we're looking to expand to other markets as well. So again, evolution, we both never really intended on maybe perhaps growing our own teams. But there was a lot of synergy there, so it worked out well.
Absolutely. Okay, awesome. And then the introduction to EXP, were you guys, was that your first brokerage, or, you guys said you were independent agents first. So how were each of you introduced to EXP? Were you skeptical of it? How were you, who introduced you to it? Did that make an impact? Just kind of give me that lowdown.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was very fortunate to be introduced to EXP. I didn't know what EXP was. And so when I got my license, I was working, for a mortgage company, not on the mortgage side actually, but in business expansion. So, company was growing really quick. I was helping them, set up new locations and all of the things that were needed to, set up, the same business that they had here in Chicago in other locations. And so that type of business expansion was something that I think has been good for the team. But, I had the CEO of the company who was constantly in my ear about, hey, you need to invest. Hey, you need to do this. And so when I finally was like, all right, listen, I did it. I got my license. I want to do this. And so he's like, yeah, when you decide you want to start using that license, I know a guy who works for a brokerage. And so I got introduced to a guy that he knew who was an Icon agent, Jay Lehman down in Champaign, really good guy. And I had one conversation and I was like, yeah, this is for me. It all makes sense. Everything is ideal. I looked into what other brokerages had, but as soon as I heard the pitch, it was done. I wasn't looking anywhere else.
He was sold. Awesome. Yep. Well, Jake, what about you?
Yeah, similar story in the sense that it's my first brokerage and hopefully last, right? I got into it because one of my best friends was an agent at EXP, had been with a local competitor in Chicago for a long time. And when I had sold my logistics company, was getting into real estate and investments, I found myself constantly giving him referrals. And I think I counted one over 10 months, I gave him 8 or 9 referrals. And I'm like, this is enough. I need to get my license at least and capitalize on these. So for me, it was originally just to get a license to hang it somewhere, right? It was very low risk at EXP, low fees, low barrier to entry. So let's just get it in, worst case, kind of see what happens. But I'm super glad it happened. And for me, I think, like I said, it's going to be the first and the last stop.
Absolutely. That's awesome. And that's my next question, Jake. You said it's your last stop. So what about EXP, guys, makes you say, I never want to leave this brokerage? What are some things that, that maybe you didn't expect about EXP and now you're over here and you utilize it very often, or it's become an aspect of EXP that you really enjoy? Just kind of give us the point of view and how you guys use EXP to your advantage and why you would never want to leave. But never say never, of course, but you know what I'm saying.
Right. I'll start it. I'll give at least, like I said, what drew me in was the ability to self-brand and kind of have my own identity there, right? I was always a business owner. I didn't like the idea of really working for anybody or conforming to exactly what, someone was telling me what to do and how to market. So that drew me in initially, right? But I think what's surprised me and what's made me stick are benefits, right? The multiple streams of income, revenue share, stock options. And then I think one of the biggest things, a lot of people, maybe especially ones that joined years ago and it's grown so rapidly, so recently, is that we're in 50 states and multiple countries, right? So effectively we have our license in 50 states and multiple countries if you have referral basis and you have that opportunity to grow. So I never really even understood what, referring people was in real estate. And all of a sudden, if you have any type of, presence, again, I don't know if it's social media or anything of the sort, or just connections, right? And someone, you live in Chicago, but someone looking to buy a townhome in Washington. Hey, I have a mastermind and, I have a great high level agent network that's going to take care of you. And then whoops, you get 25% of that commission or more. Right. So I think that was one of the most surprising benefits, if I could say that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I think that there's two things that come to mind for me. And, one of them, I've told this story to a number of, potential recruits. It's that we did an inspection at a 15 unit last year in November, I believe it was. And I remember having a conversation at the inspection. It was a long inspection. So we got into numbers a little bit with the other agent. And, the other agent from an unnamed company was giving up 40% of his commission, and he made about $500,000. And he had no cap. He had a consistent 40% split. And, we're over here, and I looked at my numbers from last year, and with, becoming an icon and, then with the revenue share, I paid EXP nothing. Literally nothing, because my revenue share exceeded, the additional amount, like the cap transaction fees plus the monthly desk fees, and everything was covered after becoming an icon. So that alone is just it's almost impossible to match. And then Jake will tell you this. I am just all over EXP's referral network. I kind of built my business around being the go-to person in Chicago, or trying to anyways. I mean, there's other great Chicago agents, but there's a lot of times that, I just get these random messages. Hey, I have somebody in Chicago that needs to sell, and I saw your name all over Workplace. And I look at these other referral groups that are on like Facebook, and there's 200 agents for every, Chicago referral that are just like piranhas to every, thing, from a million different brokerages. And EXP tries to keep everything in-house. And, so we have, done countless deals. I can't even tell you, like, probably over 100 deals in the last 2 years that were referrals that came from EXP's internal referral network. So that aspect of EXP, wanting to keep it in-house, wanting to trust other EXP agents and support each other, that has just been completely invaluable for us.
Absolutely. I love that. And like you said, invaluable for you guys. It continues to, just give support and keep it within and really fuel the fire that EXP's become and that flagship. And before we dive into all things Icon Award and production, let's talk about your guys' personal life, right? So if you let it, real estate will run you to the ground, right? It'll be a 24/7 job, overwhelming, no play, all work. So how do you guys draw boundaries and, everything else that it takes to make it a work-life balance?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll start because Jake might actually have an answer to this. I'll be honest, I've not done well with that. I've not had much of a work-life balance. I keep telling myself that I'm going to, but we're expanding, and I think that the one thing that Jake and I are hoping for will lead to more work-life balance is eventually, pulling ourselves back from the majority of production except for commercial. And so that's what we've been working towards lately. But, I still do a lot of listings, regardless of price point. I will take listings wherever. And we are expanding into multiple, different cities and expanding the team. And so I've gotten a second phone, and I'm trying to utilize that to have a bit of a social life. But, unfortunately, I'm not married, no kids, nothing like that. So I have not made it an emphasis to have a life.
Michael, that doesn't define success. So don't feel bad. It just like what refuels you, right? So work-life balance doesn't mean you've got a wife and kids. It just means like how to step away and recharge, and what fuels you and how you take care of your mind, body, and soul,
Yeah, and I guess the only thing that I do well, and Jake will tell you this, probably that'd be one of the first things he tells you, is I take a lot of phone calls at the gym. So I do make sure that I get to the gym every single day, and I get my workouts in, and I do answer emails and get on calls in between, sets and reps at the gym. So I am very fortunate to have that. But the work-life balance is a work in progress for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jake, and you know, that's okay. Hold on, Michael. Let me reverse. It's progress, right? So it's something that's constantly evolving for the situations that you're in. And I feel like a lot of people feel the pressure to just have the perfect work-life balance, but nobody really does, right? Because I'll admit, you know, I go to work, but my life balance is definitely more favored by me, right? Going out and going to the gym and when I could focus a little more on work sometimes. So nobody has it perfected, but you've just got to kind of find your perfect balance. So don't feel bad. I feel like you're going to like call a therapist after this and be like, oh God,
no, if you love what you do, you don't work you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life, right? So Mike loves what he does all day, every day.
Well, good. Well, Michael, I'm glad. That's a great point, Jake. Now it's your turn. You know, what's your work-life balance look like? How do you keep it all in line and create routine there?
Yeah, again, I work a lot, but I think the type of work is different, right? Like, you know, we're working a good amount of time technically, but you know, I come from owning an office and being in an office and owning a company with a bunch of employees, and it's a different type of work, right? So it's not about like, you know, 100% time blocking and having complete disconnection from work. It's just a different type, right? Because you can work from home and still kind of be enjoying what you're doing, right? So I think that's a big part of it, right? You don't have to necessarily separate completely. But personally, I think it's important to, you know, understand delegation, right? Mike and I have had some success with bringing on, you know, administrators and passing off some of the work and focusing on, you know, high level tasks, right? So I think a big part of, you know, a lot of what people should do, especially agents, is understand like the value of their time, right? You know, assign a number to yourself hourly, right? Understand what your hourly worth is your worth. And if you can get it done for cheaper, pass it along, pay someone else to do it, right? You know, delegate it to a team member, give them a listing that, you know, or a showing or whatever it might be that, you know, takes an hour of their time, but yours is better spent doing, you know, if that's something with your family, great. If it's doing, you know, prepping for a different type of appointment or a higher value client, you should do it, right? Don't take on too much. So I think at the end of the day, whether it's like, it's not necessarily a personal practice, but I look at, you know, my time, I value it highly, right? So if I can get someone else to do it for less than that number, I do it.
Awesome. No, that's a great point. Leveraging out the work that you need to be done, because Skyly, I don't have her quote right in front of me. Oh yeah, I do. So this is just kind of like a gist of it, but she said, you may be the best at what you're doing, like social media, transactions, whatever else, but are you the best if it's not getting done? Right. So if you're leveraging stuff like that out, you know, posting on social media, doing some marketing, following up on leads, you're going to get so much further with production and increasing your business growth. And so it takes me back to a hill that I will die on, is that you have to spend money to make money. So whether that's with VAs, you know, hiring admins stateside, an assistant, whatever that is, you will be surprised. You know what, that's $30,000 coming out of your pocket. That's obviously going to be cheaper and different for virtual assistants, but you know, that's 30 grand, say for example, to have stateside assistant. And then, you know, how much more money are you going to make off of that based on the tasks that you're delegating off, the more listings that you can attend, more phone calls you can take, etc.
Yeah, 100% agree, Brett.
Yeah, and I think that's something that, you know, I struggled with early, and Jake was actually a little bit better at than I was. And, you know, as soon as we did, you know, bring somebody on, I wasn't spending 3 hours every single night, you know, working on, you know, our transactions and the paperwork. And all of a sudden, you know, I was able to look for properties for, you know, higher level clients. And, you know, there's just so much more that you can do that you didn't realize you weren't doing when you delegate some of the smaller tasks.
Absolutely. And, you know, delegation, it's okay to do, leverage it out. That's the key to success, especially in this industry. And guys, let's talk about the Icon Award. It's why you're here, right? So production is typically hitting your cap and then 20 transactions after that. just for the sake of listeners, maybe somebody who's looking at EXP for the first time through this podcast, and does that icon goal look different for you guys because you're, business partners, or is that the same? And are you able to achieve icons separately? How does that look for you guys? And about, we'll actually get to that question next because it's loaded. So I don't want you guys to forget some of the aspects. So what does iconing look like to you guys from a business partner standpoint?
Iconing for us is fortunately the same. So, we both are able to achieve icon. We both, split all of our deals. And so, when Jake puts a big deal under contract, or when I put a big deal under contract, we're both counting towards icon the same. And so we're pretty much achieving icon in the same amount of time every single year, which is good. And so it's been good for us. It's good because, I think that with the level of production that we're fortunate to be able to do, it's something that has become just part of the process for us, but it leads to a lot more. And one of the things that I realized very early on is that I was pretty skilled at working with investors. I knew how to talk numbers, but it became 10 times easier for people to, want to hand me referrals when I went on Workplace and put that icon next to my name. And so it's become kind of a self-perpetuating thing where, you work to become icon, and the work is just about the same every single year, but the status of being icon affords you a lot in this company, and it affords you a lot when it comes to recruiting as well. I think that, the fact that I can tell people, hey, I, was not a real estate agent. I joined EXP and I became icon in, just over a year. That leads me to being able to bring on a lot more people.
Right. Absolutely. And Jake, what's your point of view of it all?
Yeah, similar. I wasn't joining EXP knowing or expecting to cap or become an icon or counting on that, right? It's just kind of another thing that EXP offers that's just a icing on the cake type of thing. It's like, oh, wow, now I get my $16,000 cap back. That's a bonus and not an expectation, right? So I think that's, EXP does a good job of, and I think, that's a lot of credit to the upline that brought me on, is they weren't overselling it, right, and under delivering. It was like, hey, if you hit your cap or you hit icon, then good, and for us, again, I think it's also been just a little bit of a self measure, right? And it sounds like, and if I'm not mistaken, about the top 2% of agents at EXP hit icon, right? So it goes to maybe show you that you're going in the right direction, and, telling your clients and telling other agents that you're in the top 2% of a really big company is helpful nonetheless, right? So it's a bit of a bragging tag, but at the end of the day, it feels good.
Yeah, absolutely. And so my next question is going to be, production wise, how many houses do you guys have to sell to cap, right? So you said one of your strategy points was one of you was like right in the heart of the city. The other was in the suburbs. So what does the price differences look like on that? About how many homes do you have to sell to hit your cap? Obviously the 20 transactions following.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because it depends on, what kind of cycle that we're in. Jake and I do a mix of residential and commercial. And so I think this past year we had a couple of decent sized deals that closed, for me in the beginning of my cap year. So I ended up capping in 30 days. And I think that the average price point over that first 30 days was, probably close to 500,000-600,000. But our trailing average, or at least, my trailing average for the last 2 years, is somewhere around 350 to 400,000 for, an average, home sale. So we're looking at anywhere between, 10 to 12 properties, because, we got to get the 80,000 in sales to hit that 16,000. Our average in Illinois is 2.5% commission. So it depends on the commission that's offered. I know some states 3% is more common. but yeah, I mean, with that, you know, type of sale, we're looking at least 10 to 12 transactions, you know, potentially more or less depending on if we do like a big commercial deal or, you know, if we get a handful of small fixer upper properties that we happen to be selling.
Sure. Awesome. And Jake,
yeah, I think both us and the team, we mostly take the quantity versus like the luxury route, right? I think we're usually capping and hitting the icon mark due to volume versus, you know, one giant $5 million deal or something. So for us, it's just keeping the pipeline pretty full, not focusing too much on, hey, where we are we at in the year. It's just keep going and count on it. Good things will happen type of approach.
No, and that's smart too, not turning down a transaction because, you know, how bad would it suck to hit your cap and then you're at 19 transactions and your year's about to end and, you know, you passed on some dude that wanted to buy an empty plot of land, like just something like that. So it's good to, you know, always stay consistent with that and be a realtor for the people, you know, instead of just for the luxury and for all in it for the commission checks. So moving on from that, guys, it's more than just production to be an icon agent. You also have that cultural commitment, which is awesome because it gives back to the EXP culture, boosts morale, not to mention you guys are icon agents. So to be mentored or teaching an EXP world by the best of the best, top 2% of the company is an incredible system that EXP has come up with. So what do you guys do to fulfill your cultural commitment? Why did you go with that path?
So I think we're both mentors. I'm definitely a mentor. I believe Jake is as well, but he can expand on that. But yeah, I went the mentor route, and EXP is kind of switching things up this coming year, which I really do like. Is, you know, we're switching over to this point system where we can fulfill our cultural obligation through a number of different ways. And so, you know, doing some of the icon presentations and a number of different ways that we can give back to EXP is, you know, great for us. And then it's just genius by EXP, you know, incentivizing people to, you know, help them out. I mean, there wouldn't be the capacity to, I don't think, train this many new agents if there wasn't this really cool hidden incentive for what we get for being a mentor as an icon. And so for the last year, I've been a mentor. I've been super happy to, you know, have a number of my mentees, you know, graduate from the program and give them, you know, kind of the rundown on how I think Jake and I just have really done things, taking more of an approach of like, hit the ground running, get out there, find clients. And, you know, I think that a lot of my mentees have had success that way. But yeah, definitely looking forward to giving back in some other ways, just because, you know, mentoring is cool. But I love the fact that now we're able to help out in a couple of different ways.
Absolutely. I love that too. And the mentorship, teaching, even vetting other icons, there's a lot of options for it. And you guys were both as shareholders, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they introduced like a new point system. So that'll be interesting to kind of see how that plays out and how different people, you know, kind of add up those points and, you know, what avenues they're going to take for that. But Jake, how do you fulfill your cultural commitment?
Same. In the beginning, it was all mentoring. And I think there was a nice win-win situation there because it fulfilled that need, but it also, you know, kind of thrust me into the practice of training and vetting potential team members, right? So a lot of my mentees and eventually joined the team. And I just saw the value of, you know, how to bring someone up from, you know, having zero experience and how to really potentially set them up for success. And then also, you know, the other side of the coin of, you know, if they don't join a team, or how some people might unfortunately fall by the wayside if they don't have someone there to kind of keep them motivated, keep them on track. So for me, mentorship has been my path, you know, to hit icon beyond just production for the cultural portion. But yeah, the same. I'm looking forward to potentially jumping into the EXP world and participating in those, you know, trainings, because it hasn't really been something I've needed to do in the past. Potentially wanted to, but, you know, they're kind of giving you a nice nudge to the edge here to take that step and, do a few more things beyond just mentoring. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
Absolutely. Awesome, guys. And then my third question when it comes to Icon, there is a lot of benefits, right? Like a big glass shiny trophy. Jake, I think I see those in the background. Why can't I figure?
Yep, right. I think I see one too. Mike's going to be mad at me because I just put him on the shelf. I just put him on the shelf recently. And he had a joke the other day. Yeah, you got to show him off. He had a joke today. The other day, he's like, "Oh, mine are both still sitting in the boxes." I was like, "Yeah, mine are too, but not anymore."
Michael, go get those.
So I do. I need a bookshelf. It's just a very funny side story. So Jake lives in a house. He is able to. Not that I don't live in a house, but I still move every single year. I do what we work with a lot of investors, and I do what our investors often do, which is called house hacking. So I buy. Yeah, so you know what it is.
For the listeners that need what is house hacking, Michael?
So house hacking is buying a property owner occupied and then living in, one of the units or one of the bedrooms for at least a year, and, then keeping it as a rental after you move out. And so I have been a transient nomadic person for several years, not paying my own mortgage. I haven't paid a mortgage like ever, just because I've been moving from house to house and having, everything covered by the tenants. So that's been great. But setting things up, actually having, I don't have a dining room table at my new place yet, and I've been there for 4 months. So I either eat out on the patio or I eat standing up in the kitchen. And so, I know I need to set up my Icon trophies. I haven't done so yet, but I will get to it. I'll put them in the kitchen on the counter or something.
For everyone listening, Michael doesn't have a wife or kids, and he's homeless. So,
yeah,
no.
I'm doing, but I'm an Icon, so I'm doing great.
He's killing the game. Doesn't have to pay mortgage. Doesn't have to pay bills. So, if you guys are single and looking, just kidding. Well, that's awesome. So, obviously we talked about the big glass shiny trophy. You guys get your cap back in stock, the opportunity to go to shareholders, EXP Con, great reputation, easy to catch referrals as an Icon. So what is your favorite part about Iconing? Why do you guys want to make sure that you're hitting that goal again and again? Because even production-wise, you still have a lot to take on culturally, and it's a big goal, and you have to make sure you're hitting all those marks. So why is that a goal for you guys every year?
I'll take it a little beyond just Iconing, but it's, we definitely want to maintain that status to be able to continue to get referrals. Adding that Icon X2, X3, X4, X5 will start to, become a little bit more impressive year over year. But for me, it's also just another path to some passive income, right? And I think we didn't talk much about the stock awards, but it's hard to save. A lot of agents don't do a self-directed IRA or things like that. So I'm always maxing out my 5% stock awards, right? And achieving Icon status just means I know I'm hitting a certain amount of, stock awards and stock savings. So having that nest egg, if you will, and having it kind of just be something I ignore and hopefully we'll look back on in 5 to 10 years and be able to buy a lake house with, or whatever the plan might be. That's what kind of keeps me pushing for that type of production, because I know I'm putting, at least a certain amount aside that is going to be there in the future to help me and my family.
Absolutely.
Jake kind of hit it on the head. I mean, there's all that vested stock that, we were very fortunate to have just sitting in an account now that, I don't plan to touch for a long time. I think one of the bigger things for me, though, is, hitting Icon and the amount of time it takes to hit Icon every single year is going to be a measure of the success of Jake and I and the team, so we are still in production. We are still doing our own deals, but the more that we're able to successfully grow our team and teach our team and everything, I think we'll end up each hitting Icon faster and faster. And And that'll be a measure of, the success of the team. If next year, with more team members and, a larger growing national team, I hit icon in less time, maybe it'll be a product of the market, but it'll be something that I'll need to evaluate of like, hey, is the team, doing as well as we were wanting it to? What do we need to adjust? And so icon has almost become, a tracker for me personally. And there's a ton of benefits to it. And obviously, we've touched on a lot of those, but I think it's a good marker of, our overall success as a team as well.
Absolutely. And, like I said, the reputation, the success as a team, it's easy to get referrals and you have that elite status, and, it helps with recruiting and getting people on your team and everything else that has to go with it. And, when it comes to iconing, this is my next question for somebody that's either a rookie and new to EXP, or they've been in the game for a little while, just made it over to EXP. What does iconing in their first year look like for them? Is that possible? Just for some ideas and points to talk on for you guys. You don't have to answer all of these, but, what are some goals they should set every day? Major mistakes to avoid? Where should they be leaning in for help, or how to plot this out? And just once again, is it possible for them? We can start with Jake.
Yeah, I would say, so I was lucky enough to hit icon my second year. I hit the ground running a little bit, besides not coming from another brokerage. I had some investor contacts and, knew the game a little bit, but it's doable. I didn't come from another shop. I just got my license. It only took, 18 months. So it's possible. I was full-time, right? So, you get out what you put in, just like in a lot of sales type positions, right? If you work hard and put in the time, it will come, build it and they will come, right? Type of a thing. So yeah, at the end of the day, it comes down to that phrase a little bit, you get out what you put in, you work hard, you make the calls, it's going to happen. It's very realistic. EXP has done a great job of not making it a moving target. It's besides the cultural, portion we mentioned, the production portion has not changed, right? Like it's very transparent, very easy. My advice would be don't fret and track yourself every single day on the sales. Look at it, take a step back and revisit it every 3 to 6 months, because if you get too focused on what you sold, maybe that day or that month, you might lose focus of your, building your pipeline. It'll just naturally start to hit, right? So for me, it was less about, what did I do and what were my KPIs today, versus let's just revisit and make sure I'm hitting some type of minimum number every 3 to 6 months and focus on just selling.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think Jake is kind of spot on with something that he was, talking about, and I want to hit directly is like, lead generation. So that for me is like the biggest thing. And I do the same thing. I couldn't tell you how many deals that we've done so far this year. I honestly don't know. We don't really look. We just want to make sure that, we'll look at the end of the year, but we want to make sure that every single day we are lead generating. We know our lead gen sources. We track them through our CRM. And I think that's one of the biggest things that, rookie agents can forget about. There's, if you've read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, one of the things that is talked about in that book is that you need to spend time every single day lead generating. Every single day. You cannot take time off of lead generating. Even if you've got more leads than you can currently handle, you need to continue to lead generate every single day. And so we are doing that every single day. We are looking for new lead sources. We are, sourcing leads from more lead generation, sources than we can find. And for us as team leaders, and having the amount of people, I think we've got somewhere around like 20 people on our team here in Chicago. And we're, like we've talked about, we're expanding into other areas. Every lead is a good lead. We need to keep the people on the team working. We need to keep their pipelines filled, and they're not all going to be good leads. We get leads from back-end paid referral lead gen sources. We pay up front for different types of leads. We have, I have a big sphere of influence, from, things that I've done in the past. And so, that has been beneficial for us. I go to the gym and I talk to people like every single way that you can lead generate, you have no idea what it could potentially turn into. I played rugby for 18 years. I sponsored my rugby team for $500 last year. We got a $650,000 sale and then a $1.1 million buy out of one of my teammates. Every single source in your life is a potential, lead, and you need to focus on that. And I think that will be, the biggest producer of success is making sure that you are keeping your pipeline filled with quality leads and then having a CRM that can follow up on them, because even the longer term leads will eventually, hopefully turn into something if you are touching them, a certain amount of times per year. I think it's the 22 touch system that is talked about in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. But whether or not you follow that to the T or you have your own, way of following up, you just need to make sure that you're staying on top of these. And eventually people have real estate needs. Like, everybody needs a house. Everybody needs somewhere to live. And so that is the biggest thing that I started from the beginning, is constant lead generation.
Absolutely. No, that's super smart, to just keep that pipeline coming. I love how you said, you're getting them organically, through sponsorship of your rugby team, or, going to the gym and just having those conversations. I think that's incredible advice. For somebody looking to icon in their first year, it's a great place to start, get those leads going. And maybe somebody who's not ready to buy now will be by the end of your financial year. So that's important when you're down to those last couple of transactions. And Jake, Michael, were you guys ever skeptical of EXP when it was introduced to y'all?
No, funny enough, like I talked to, a couple people from a couple of other brokerages before I talked to EXP. But, I did my research on it, as soon as I had that first conversation. And, I think the fact that I had a personal referral, that the CEO of the company that I was working for, vouched for it, that was a big thing for me. But no, I mean, the fact that we are traded on the NASDAQ, I think speaks absolute volumes. We're, not that private companies aren't legitimate, but, to be included on the NASDAQ is a very strong, sense of legitimacy for this company. And then, the numbers nowadays, I mean, when I joined, there was 22,000 agents, something like that. And that wasn't even that long ago, but the fact that we're, over 83,000 at this point, just speaks volumes. If people know the amount of agents that are with different brokerages, it's huge. So for me, it was, no, I was pretty sold and pretty much a believer from day one.
Absolutely. I love that. Jake?
Yeah, same. I think, I did my own due diligence, but I looked at it like, pretty low risk, right? Give everything a EXP, kind of put their money where their mouth is, if you will. Like, it cost, I think when I joined, like $150 to register, and it was 80, it's still like $85 a month. So worst case, 2 or 3 months in, what I'm going to be out, a few $100s, and I've got some business cards. So, we're lucky that it did stick, and the reputation is great. And I think it's all about expectations as well, right? A lot of people do hear about the agents that agent number 20 or 40 or 60 with EXP who have this amazing recruitment downline, and they're making, $300,000 a month in passive income, and it's happening and it's true, but I was not expecting that to happen to me, right away, or, have these dreams of doing nothing and making millions of dollars, right? You still have to do work. We're still real estate agents. You still have to produce, you still have to sell. So I think it's important for people to come in with realistic expectations and focus on what we're really meant to do, which is, service customers, buy and sell properties, right? So I think coming in with that type of expectation will set you up to succeed.
Absolutely. Well, great, guys. And then, as far as somebody that's watching right now, they see the greener grass, but they hear the things, from their broker that EXP is a cult, it's a pyramid scheme, don't drink the Kool-Aid. And what would you have to say to somebody watching right now for our final question? that maybe they're on the fence, they see the greener grass, they don't want to cut that tie with their broker, or they're scared, or they're listening to those things in the industry, but again, they see all the benefits of being EXP. How would you light a fire underneath them to go ahead and make that leap?
I would say do the math, right? If you're at a company that doesn't have a cap, and ignoring even all the fringe benefits of recruiting and stock, which again, I just like to see as icing on the cake. Do the math yourself. A lot of people just sell. They don't take a step back to understand, what if I did have a cap, how much more would I be making? So start there. And if that delta and that difference is really large, I think it's worth taking a chance. Like I said, I think, what is it, up to maybe $250 now, a sign up fee plus $85 a month, a few months to try something out. Pretty low risk to me. That could end up making you 10, 20, 50, 100,000 more dollars per year. So to me, money talks, right? So do the math, and do your own due diligence.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Michael?
I mean, it's pretty much exactly what Jake said. Look at what your brokerage offers to you, and just remember that the important thing about being, with a brokerage is what the brokerage can do for you. It's not about what the brokerage does for clients. You are the client facing person. We could be with any brokerage in the entire world. Like Jake and I can sell, a high end, $4 million house just the same if we're at EXP versus, any of what are considered some of, the name brand luxury places. It's not about, the brokerage when it comes to the sales. So you got to remember that it's about what the brokerage does for you. Does your brokerage have, too high of a cap, or, too high of a split? Are you giving up too much to your brokerage? Because at the end of the day, you're the business. The brokerage is not the business. The brokerage is who holds your license. The brokerage is who, makes sure that, you're doing what you're supposed to do, from an E&O perspective and all that kind of stuff. But you need to make sure that you're maximizing what you're getting from your brokerage. And for me, EXP is just a no-brainer in that regard. I mentioned it earlier in the podcast, but with revenue share and with becoming Icon, at the end of a year, we're not paying anything. We're making more off of EXP than we are giving. And that's just phenomenal. And if there's another brokerage that offers that, sure. But even these 100% brokerages that just charge a, $400 to $500 transaction fee, you're still paying the equivalent of a cap or more if you're doing the kind of volume that Jake and I are doing. If you're doing the kind of volume that we're doing, you're paying, a ton of money. So I think just looking at what your brokerage is giving you, it'll become pretty obvious that there's not a better option.
Okay, awesome. No, you said that so well, Michael. And make sure if you guys have questions to hit Michael and Jake up. Everybody's happy to field questions, even if you aren't ready to make that move to EXP. And as we wrap it up today, guys, anything that you'd like to leave the listeners with?
Oh man, putting us on the spot. No, I don't think so. I think just, for rookie agents, that's the biggest thing, because there's a lot of people that enter this business. Just, don't give up too soon. I did 3 deals in my first 6 months. I wasn't terribly motivated. I was in a similar boat as Jake. But as soon as I decided to become motivated and I took a couple of months to figure it out, it just took off. And so I would say that's the only thing is if you're an agent, you're listening to it, you're not having some success early on, just keep grinding. The harder you work, this is a commission-based business. This is what Jake mentioned earlier, what you put in, you get out. You just got to keep doing that and keep grinding, and you'll eventually find some success.
Join a team or pay for leads, right? They're not just going to fall from the sky. So that's what I tell a lot of, if this is to address to newer agents, be prepared to pay for leads or give a split, right? And then eventually you can grow things organically and move on from that. But in the beginning, you kind of have to pay your dues in a sense. So be willing and able to do that.
Well, awesome, guys. Thank you so much for your time today. Almost a 50-minute podcast. So that's pretty incredible. And are you guys going to be at EXP Con?
Yeah.
Vegas, baby. Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I plan on seeing you guys there. Looking forward to it. Thank you so much for your time, and talk to you guys soon.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
Of course, guys.
Bye.
We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
This Icon podcast is hosted and sponsored by Sphere Rocket Virtual Assistants, a leading provider for your virtual assistants and outsourcing needs. Owned by one of the top-ranking EXP agents, Justin Nelson. Sphere Rocket VA provides a one-stop virtual staffing solution for business owners, and we specialize in helping business owners grow their business by leveraging through virtual assistants. Trusted by the top names in the real estate industry like Kyle Whistle, Andrew Franklin, John Kitchens, and many more. Get ready to up your success, and we'll help you achieve your business goals. Book your free consultation at sphererocketva.com and find out how we can make your life easier.